Hello, beautiful souls. It's been a while since I've recorded a video. In fact, it's September 30th today, and it was September 1st, where what was my challenge to sing out loud, and I completed that. And even though I only posted on Facebook on days 1 and 2, the rest of the month I did complete my challenges every day, but it became too personal to share on Facebook, so I didn't. But this can you give me just a minute here because this is going to be a longer video, but I really feel like what I'm about to say might save somebody's life. So if you could stick with me here, even though it's going to be a little longer, you might be able to help somebody if this isn't for you. I am a professional forgetter. I forget everything all the time. I have to have everything in my calendar or it's out of my memory. That includes my childhood, that includes most of my teenage years, that includes my day to day life. And honestly, sometimes I feel like I live in a different dimension because I remember so little of this, but I also don't remember anything else either. So there's just a lot of thinking constantly all the time because everything seems new all of the time because there's this constant forgetting. Um, but, anyways, I've been asking and praying and begging for a really long time for memories. To remember who I am and to remember what got me to where I am, and like I've been feeling in my heart that I need to write my story because it's going to relate to somebody out there and give them hope. And the problem with that is that I can't remember most of my story, only very, very small bits and pieces. So this has been a long time coming that I've been asking for this remembrance, and it has not been granted to me. But just now, I was outside in the perfect temperature underneath the most beautiful feeling sun, and I was meditating and grounding and asking again for that remembrance. And I've heard this voice that I've heard many times that I'm really good at pushing away start talking to me, and this time, instead of pushing it away, I just allowed it to come to me, and it asked me if I wanted remembrance. And I said, I do. And I was transported back to when I was 15. And I was at East Iowa State Point Park. And I had asked my parents if we could go putt-putting with me and my friend and then a couple of guys. And we did that. And then we came back, and the guy that I was with, who the only thing I knew about, his name was Pete, and he went to Saginaw Valley High, and he was going to be a senior. I was 15, and that's all that I knew about him, but he dropped off the other two, and then we drove to, like, they have at East Iowa West State Point Park, they have what they call the Bay Side, and then they have the large lake side, which is the state lake. And we went to the big lake side, which was more deserted. Everybody preferred the bay over the big waves of the lake, and so and we were the only ones that were back there in his car, and basically I willingly went in the back of the car with him, and then things went further than I wanted them to. And how I've always looked at it in my mind is that I was extremely weak, because if you know me now, you know that I'm a fighter, and I wasn't when I was 15. I basically laid there and just cried no, instead of screaming, instead of hitting, instead of pounding. So was it rape or was it not rape? It's all a matter of opinion, right? But it's how you internalize it. And so it was not something that I wanted, but it was something that happened. And then 30 days later, I did not have my period on time, and we were scared, and I was scared, and so I was going to tell my mom, and then the accident happened, and three of my high school friends, John, Craig, and Lauren, they were going to be a sophomore and a junior and a freshman. The 3 different grades were affected by this, and they were in a car accident, and all 3 of them passed away. And John and Craig and Erica and I had plans to go to Cedar Point one more time. Everything else waited, and then we had the funeral, and then I had a breakdown, and I had snow globes at the time, and just started throwing them across my room upstairs, and my mom heard, and she came upstairs, and I told her everything, and she was my best friend, and just accepted me and loved me and held me and asked me what I wanted to do and what I needed, and was just the best thing that ever could happen to me at that time. And there was a lot of darkness. I cut out every obituary of all the different tragic stories about the 3 boys, and had them taped up all over my bedroom, obsessing on them. And obsessing on the pain, and how I got to get back to the story about not having my period. We ended up going and getting blood work, and I was not pregnant, but then we went through HIV testing, and so that took over a year to get back all those results, and those were all negative too. So, I just want to make that clear. I did not have to deal with either of those 2 things, thank God, at that time. So time goes on. That year finishes off, and that was in August and September. And now we're to the following May, and it's prom. And I went to prom with a bunch of friends and with a new guy who was treating me really well. And we went to Port Huron because my parents my grandparents, they lived right on the river, the St. Clair River, where Canada is across, but in the back of their yard they had St. Clair River, and then they had this beautiful tree, and I love this tree and I love this yard, and this was my peace. I spent my summers a lot with my grandparents there and swam in that river all the time, and think about all the craziness, no adult was around to watch me when I was jumping in the St. Clair River. I could have been swept away to Canada, nobody would have known, but I guess they trusted my swimming skills. But yeah, obviously I'm here and I'm fine and everything worked out, so it was great, but but it kind of makes me laugh to remember that now. But it was one of my favorite places to be. And so on prom, I was telling everybody about how beautiful it was. This tree was in bloom, and so we all drove there, and my grandparents were there, and they took the pictures and everything, and prom happened, and whatever with that. Well, then I had a big track meet, and my grandparents came from Port Huron to Davison to watch me in my track meet, and I got injured, and I was hurting really bad, so my mom gave me a Vicodin. And then we went to Apollo for dinner, and my grandparents joined, and I was so tired that I couldn't stay awake, and so I just said goodbye and went out into the car and fell asleep in the car. And it was Fuck. The next day, one of my best friends, my grandpa, passed away in his sleep. Actually, it was that night. And so, in my mind, instead of spending his last hours with him at that restaurant, I went and slept in the truck. And it just felt like I made another really bad decision, just like I had done in August. And I struggled for a long time with my grandpa's passing. For a very, very long time. Until I was able to forget. Here I am, all these laters, and I was 16 at that point. I had had a birthday in between those two events, so I was 15 for the first two, and I was 16 for my grandpa's passing, and very, very, very tragic. Half a year of life, right? And then it was like a few years of, nothing happening. And it was kind of really nice. And then there was Pete all over again, but with a bigger deal, because this time it wasn't just a one-day thing. It was an over the summer thing, working at Cedar Point, and once again being 18 and this 23-year-old wanting to pay attention to me. And I ended up with my beautiful Elizabeth, who is now going to be a mom, and now I'm going to be a grandma, all because when I was pregnant at 18 with literally a psychopath's baby, I was brave enough to say, she's still part of me and she's mine, and there's a reason why she's here. And that was the way that I saw it. And she has blessed the world in so many different ways. She's blessed so many different people, and now she's gonna be the best mom because she's wanted this and waited for this for a very long time. She's not 18 and scared and pregnant. She's very happily married. Very happily married and very excited for their little boy. And I can't believe how far my life has come. And I'm thankful now for some of the forgetfulness, because this is really hard to remember and it's really hard to live through. But I honestly don't think that it was meant just for me, which is why I'm sharing with you, because oh my God, there's some hard things going on to some people in this world right now. Some things that you don't understand, and some things that you just think that God must hate you to allow you to go through all of this. Because we all need somebody to blame, and he's the easiest person to blame, right? If he loves me, why would he let me go through this? Oh, my baby. Just like the sun shining on your face, he's right there loving you through it. we're just pushing him away because we just can't feel it because the pain is just too deep. But the love for you is enormous. That's why the sun keeps coming back over and over and over again, because it doesn't want to let you down. It wants you to know that it's going to keep fighting and it's going to keep shining through. And you are loved, and you are loved every single day. So you remember that anytime that the sun shines through. It's for you. Because you are loved, and no matter what is happening, you are so loved. I love you, and I have very strong empathy, so I'll know if we're connected, and my heart is with you.